might not have heard about it, but there is a massive, kind of hidden crisis happening in the aviation world right now. And it's not about old, clunky planes, no. It's affecting some of the newest, most advanced jets out there. It's forcing hundreds of them out of the sky and onto tarmacs all across the globe. 835. Just let that number sink in. By late 2025, that's how many modern airliners are expected to be sitting on the ground, all because of one single fundamental problem with their engines. That is a truly mind-boggling number, and the consequences are just as big. So, how on earth did we get here? This isn't just some minor technical glitch we're talking about. This is a full-blown global grounding of some of the most popular new planes in the sky. So let's peel back the layers and get to the bottom of this engine crisis. Yeah, you heard that right. Industry experts are straight up calling this one of the biggest reliability crises in modern aviation history. And the culprit? A rare powder metal defect. It's incredible. A tiny microscopic flaw is causing a gigantic global impact. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of the problem. How can something you can't even see cause billions of dollars in damage and mess up travel for millions of people? Well, it all starts with a piece of technology that was supposed to be the absolute future of flying. So this is the engine at the very heart of the storm, the geared turbofan, or GTF for short. And this thing was a total game changer. It promised massive fuel savings, a much, much quieter flight, you name it. Airlines were so excited they ordered them by the thousands for their shiny new Airbus A320neo and A220 fleets. But deep inside this engineering marvel, there was a hidden weakness. And here it is, the villain of our story. A rare condition, a tiny impurity, found in the special powdered metal that's used to make the engine's most important high-pressure parts. The best way to think about it is like finding a microscopic crack in the steel foundation of a skyscraper. It compromises the strength of the whole thing. It means these parts could wear out way, way sooner than anyone ever thought possible. So, once this defect was discovered, it just kicked off a complete chain reaction. A real perfect storm. First, regulators, of course, mandated urgent inspections, which meant pulling hundreds and hundreds of engines off of planes. Well, that immediately overwhelmed all the specialized maintenance and repair shops around the world. And then, to make it all worse, there weren't enough spare parts to go around, creating this huge global bottleneck. So now we get the cause. Let's pivot to the effect. Because the numbers, when you see them, are truly eye-opening. They really show you the massive scale of this disruption to the entire global airline fleet. Just take a look at this. It really puts the crisis into perspective. Out of a worldwide fleet of just over 2,500 of these GTF-powered jets, a mind-blowing 835 of them are just parked, unable to fly. That's a huge chunk of the world's most modern narrow-body fleet, just sitting there. Think about that for a second. 1 out of every 3 of these advanced jets is out of service. Can you imagine if a third of all new cars from a huge brand were suddenly recalled and just stuck at the dealership? That is the level of chaos we're talking about in the aviation world right now. And this is absolutely a worldwide problem. You've got the low-cost carrier Wizz in Europe, you have Volaris down in Latin America, and JetBlue right here in the United States. I mean, major airlines on every continent are having to park dozens of their newest planes. It's crippling their plans for growth. As you can probably guess, grounding this many planes is way more than just an operational headache. It is a financial catastrophe. It's creating these multi-billion-dollar shockwaves for both the company that makes the engines and, of course, the airlines that rely on them. First up, let's look at the cost to the manufacturer, RTX. They're staring down a colossal $11 to $13 billion hit. That's what it's going to take to cover all the repairs and, really importantly, to compensate the airlines for their huge losses. But hold on, that's only one side of the story. The International Air Transport Association, that's IATA, they figure that engine shortages, mostly because of this crisis, are adding over $11 billion in extra costs to the airline industry in just 1 year. The financial pain here is just immense, and it's being felt everywhere. So what does this actually feel like for an individual airline? Well, for a company like JetBlue, it means losing about 3 whole percentage points from their operating margin. Now, you have to remember, in the world of aviation where profit margins are already razor thin, that is a massive blow to the bottom line, all because their brand new planes can't even get off the ground. And these multi-billion-dollar costs, they create shockwaves that travel way beyond just the company's financial statements. I mean, this crisis is fundamentally changing how airlines think, how the market itself works, and yeah, maybe even what it costs for you and me to fly. You see, the original strategy for pretty much every airline was simple. Buy these new, super efficient jets, grow your routes, and save a ton on fuel. But the new reality? Now airlines are being forced to keep their older, less efficient jets flying for longer, and you can bet they are desperately trying to diversify their engine suppliers so something like this can never, ever happen again. And it has all these other knock-on effects. With fewer planes flying, that means tighter flight capacity, which, you guessed it, can lead to higher ticket prices. There's a mad scramble for spare parts, so intense in fact that some airlines are literally taking apart almost brand new planes just to get their engines. That is a wild sign of a market in serious distress. So is there a light at the end of this very long tunnel? Let's take a look at the path to recovery, what the manufacturer is doing to fix this whole mess, and what long-term lessons the entire industry is learning from this really painful experience. So the manufacturer's response is this massive, multi-year effort. They're working with regulators on the inspections, they're pouring money into expanding the repair shops, and, most importantly, they're re-engineering the flawed parts with better designs and materials to make sure this kind of thing can't happen again. If there's one big lesson here, it's that the industry learned the hard way that having cutting-edge, efficient technology is basically worthless if you don't have a solid supply chain and enough maintenance shops to back it up. That support network, it's just as critical as the technology itself. But listen, this fix is not going to happen overnight. The number of grounded planes is probably going to stay high all the way through 2025. It'll only start to gradually come down in 2026 and beyond as those repaired and upgraded engines slowly make their way back into service. And that leaves us with a really critical question for the future of flying. I mean, these new engines, they were designed to push the absolute boundaries of performance and efficiency, but in that relentless race for progress, did the aviation industry accidentally create a system that's more complex, more interconnected, and ultimately more fragile? That's a really important thought to chew on as the industry tries to recover and figure out what comes next.